This, I want to bring in Tom Grundy. He's the editor-in-chief of the Hong Kong Free Press. Tom, thanks for coming on today. Explain to us why these two particular demonstrators were targeted.
Well, that's a very good question, which many in Hong Kong are asking today. In fact, they're among 8 key figures, including a couple more pro-democracy lawmakers who've been rounded up just over the last 36 hours. They are very mainstream pro-democracy figures. They are not exactly leaders of the current movement, nor are they on the front lines, throwing firebombs or anything like that. This is a leaderless movement, but it seems that in the past 24 hours or so, the authorities have sought to round up some sort of pro-democracy leaders, and the charges that some of them are facing, in particular Agnes and Joshua there, involve inciting people to attend an unlawful assembly or attending or organizing an unlawful assembly. And this is a rather archaic colonial era law that has been used against some of the umbrella movement activists after the 2014 street occupations.
And so, what strikes me when we look at these protesters, they're very young. And indeed, are they the face of the demonstrations right now?
Well, it's a kind of faceless, leaderless movement. I mean, over 900 people have been arrested on various charges over the last 13 or so weeks of these protests that have evolved into greater calls for democracy and against police brutality, according to protesters. But they generally tend to be organized online, and then when people meet up, they speak to each other on the ground or on the Telegram messaging app. And despite this roundup today, I don't think it's going to have much of a dampener on the protest planned for this weekend.
So an intimidation move, perhaps, by Hong Kong lawmakers? Have they justified why these two were arrested at all?
Well, we've got this protest tomorrow, which has already been banned by the police. Organizers have said that they will no longer back any march on Saturday. But it does seem that protesters are still going to gather tomorrow, no matter what. It was meant to be a very peaceful mainstream demonstration. But tomorrow actually marks 5 years since Beijing sought to hand down a restrictive framework for democracy in Hong Kong, which was ultimately rejected and sparked the 79-day umbrella movement. But the only things we're hearing today are criticism, basically, from a lot of other Democrats, from Amnesty, Human Rights Watch, who've called today's crackdown an affront to free speech, as the authorities have basically sought to minimize these protests that may occur this weekend.
Yeah, it could shape up to be a very difficult weekend there again. And as we're hearing that the Chinese government may be preparing to intervene, there's been more troops amassing at the border. Is that correct?
Well, there's always troops based in Hong Kong. There are garrisons here, and they have been swapped out during an annual procedure that happened this week. So it's very difficult to say if this is anything out of the ordinary. But we do seem to be leading up to National Day in October, and certainly there's been indications from Beijing that these protests must be reined in by then. But as I check the calendar we've got of the upcoming protests, there are certainly some planned for tomorrow, nevertheless. As we go into Sunday, people are planning to besiege the airport and go to the British consulate, and we go into Monday and Tuesday, where we may see general strikes and school strikes. So no sense in them letting up just in the next few days, and certainly in the next few weeks there are even more demonstrations planned. So despite this roundup today of 8 key figures, I can't see these protests letting up anytime soon.
All right. Well, we appreciate you updating us on the situation there, and we'll keep following it through the weekend, obviously. Tom Grundy, editor-in-chief of the Hong Kong Free Press.